Hi, everybody. I'm your host, Mr. Wildcat. Hope you all having a wonderful day today. Since the filming of our last episode, or last video on my channel, we have lost a very valuable member of the Pac-12 community, Bill Walton. So even though the reception of Bill Walton is mixed throughout the Tucson community, I find it's appropriate that we at the very least look back at his legacy and what he meant to the basketball community as well as the Pac-12. Okay? He didn't really play for the Arizona Wildcats, but he has had a huge presence. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. But first, let's discuss some of his infamous legacy. So, one thing that I learned, okay, Bill Walton and I actually shared a birthday with each other. Okay, just a different year. Okay, one thing that I found out when I was doing research on Bill Walton before hitting the air. Okay, you're probably wondering some of the other people that I want to share a birthday with. Well, you have Kevin Jonas of the Jonas Brothers. You have Kris Jenner, Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Vivian Lee, who starred in the 1939 film Gone with the Wind, played Scarlett O'Hara. You have Robert Patrick, who played that T-1000. He played that villain in Terminator 2: Judgment Day, the one with the liquid metal. Bryan Adams, the Canadian singer. It was a summer of '69. Art Garfunkel of Simon and Garfunkel, just to name a few individuals. Okay, so Bill Walton is best known as an American professional basketball player and television sportscaster. He's best known for playing for the UCLA Bruins during the early 1970s, from 1971 to 1974. During a time which he wound up playing during he played during John Wooden's final seasons with the Bruins, and he helped UCLA win 2 of their 10 national championships under the John Wooden era. UCLA won a record 10 national championships between 1964 and 1975, a 12-year span. The only times during that span that UCLA did not win a national championship were in 1967, I believe. 1966. My apologies to UCLA. 1966 and 1974. Okay. The only 2 times that UCLA did not produce a winning record, or the only times they did not produce a national championship, between 1964 and 75. Okay. So he won he won the championships for 72 and 73, and after his third season with the Bruins in 1974, he was drafted as the number 1 overall draft pick to the Portland Trail Blazers, playing for the Trail Blazers until 1979. At that point, he wound up going down to San Diego, playing for the San Diego Clippers. Well, you're probably wondering, San Diego Clippers, who the hell are they? Well, the San Diego Clippers actually started out in Buffalo, New York as the Buffalo Braves in 1970. And unfortunately for the Braves, they quickly learned that they were not really a welcome team in the area. Okay, they wound up having to share this arena in downtown Buffalo called the Buffalo Memorial Auditorium. It opened up in 1940, and they wound up having to share it with the Buffalo Sabres of the National Hockey League, which came to be at around the same time the Braves were founded. But in addition to that, they also had to share with the Canisius NCAA collegiate basketball team, which had a contract with the Memorial Auditorium prior to the Braves' and Sabres' existence. So the Canisius basketball team, they got first pick over dates to use for the Memorial Auditorium. Second pick went to the Buffalo Sabres, and the Buffalo Braves, they got whatever was left, making it very difficult for them to schedule home games. Okay, so after 8 years, they realized they weren't having success, and they realized they weren't as wanted because you had to compete with the Sabres and the Bills in a very small market. So they left for San Diego and became the Clippers. And in 1984, the Clippers moved to Los Angeles, becoming the second team became the LA's second team. Okay, so he played. Bill Walton wound up playing for the San Diego/LA Clippers from 1979 to 1985, and then in 1985 he went over to the Boston Celtics, and he wound up playing his final few years. I think he played his final 3 seasons with the Boston Celtics. And during those times, did he win an NBA title during those times? He did pick up one national title in 1986. Okay, which I'm pretty sure was no, it was not against the LA Lakers. It was actually the Houston Rockets. Okay, the Celtics versus Lakers. That was the dominant rivalry in the NBA Finals throughout the 1980s. So for those of you who were sick and tired of watching Golden State Warriors versus the Cleveland Steamers in the mid to late 2010s in the NBA Finals, try imagining going through the whole 1980s with Larry Bird and the Boston Celtics versus Magic Johnson and the LA Lakers. Yeah. Okay. So after Bill Walton retired in 1988. He wound up going into a broadcasting career. Okay, which he started off for CBS during their final months or their final year on contract with the NBA. So CBS's contract with the NBA ended in 1990. So he started working for them. And then shortly afterwards, the contract moved over to NBC, which lasted until 2002. He wound up doing the full 13 seasons that the NBC had a contract with them. He also did local commentary with the LA Clippers on the local LA stations during that same time as well. And then in 2002, when the contract moved over to ABC ESPN, he remained on the air until 2009. So in 2009, after 19 years broadcasting, he left ESPN, citing that he had a series of back problems, which dates back to an injury he suffered while playing at UCLA back in the 70s. Okay, so he wound up having to have surgery. He was out for a few years. And he came back as a part-time commentator for the Sacramento Kings during the 2010, 2011, and 11-12 seasons. 2012, ESPN and the Pac-12 networks announced that Bill Walton would return to full-time broadcasting as a game analyst for Pac-12 Conference basketball coverage. This is where Arizona's reception of him comes into play. Bill Walton wound up making anytime, most of the time when ESPN or the Pac-12 networks was scheduled to broadcast an Arizona Wildcats basketball game at McKell Center, you can guarantee that Bill Walton was going to show up, especially when his UCLA Bruins were playing. Okay? And mark my word, some of Bill Walton's comments, keep in mind that Arizona and UCLA have had a fierce rivalry with each other dating back 40 years when Lute Olson took over the Arizona Wildcats basketball program in 1983. Shortly afterwards, converted the Arizona Wildcats into the national powerhouse it is today. And shortly after taking over, they became really competitive with UCLA. So for those wondering, okay, what was Arizona's fiercest rival in men's basketball? People would say Arizona State. Well, Arizona State sucks cock, or say they're trash. All right. Yes, they are an in-state rival, but they're meaningless in men's basketball because we always kick their ass, or at least most of the time. No, our main rival is UCLA. Okay, and the impact between Arizona and UCLA in men's basketball, all right, had a huge impact on the conference as a whole. Okay, when people looked at the Pac-12, they looked at how well Arizona and UCLA were doing, and depending on how well those two schools performed, it would show an impact on the rest of the conference. So if Arizona and UCLA were both having down seasons, they say, "Oh, the Pac-12 shit. They're meaningless." Or if UCLA and Arizona are both doing extremely well, now this is a basketball program this is a conference we have to keep our eyes on. Okay? If it's one or the other, let's keep an eye on it, see how things go. So that was the perception. All right. Bill Walton didn't really have despite the fact that he had a son that wanted playing for the Arizona Wildcats, he didn't really have a lot of nice things to say for Arizona, especially when they were playing UCLA. That's where the mute button comes into play. Okay? Oh no, okay. Tucson's reaction. Oh, that son of a bitch is on the air again. Let's watch this. Now we can watch the game. Okay? He did he would make some kind of he would have odd commentary. People found it amusing. Some people found it amusing. Some people found it disgusting, and some people, and especially many of those in Tucson, found it quite offensive. All right, but they want to, but just like Howard Stern, he may be gross and inappropriate, but we're going to tune in just to see what he's going to say now. We're always curious to see what he's about to say. Okay, so to speak. Okay, so let's take a look at some of his. Here's some interesting facts you may or may not know about Bill Walton. Okay. He was an active. Let's see. Right. He was known to being a huge fan of the Grateful Dead. Okay. Yeah, that band who only had a one-hit wonder, "Touch of Grey." I'm feeling fine. Da, 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 da. I'm feeling fine. I will survive. Okay. He was a fan of the Grateful Dead as a self-described deadhead and often mentioned them in his broadcasts. He hosted several podcasts and several radio programs featuring the music of the Grateful Dead. Okay. Grateful Dead, just to let you know, came to a halt in 1995 after its main person, Jerry Garcia, died from a massive heart attack. Okay. So let's see. Personal life. Come on. Bill Walton has been married multiple times. He actually, his first wife, Susie, he married in 1979, divorced 10 years later. During this time, they had 4 sons: Adam, Nathan, Luke, and Chris. Okay. 2 years afterwards, he married his second wife, Lori Matsuka, and which had been married to Bill Walton ever since, up until his death. Okay. Luke Walton became an NBA basketball player, winning the 2009 and 2010 NBA Finals with the LA Lakers. Okay. The titles made Bill and Luke the first NBA father-son pair to have won both multiple NBA championships. Luke was also the head coach of the LA Lakers from 2016 to 2019 after 2 years as an assistant with the Golden State Warriors. Okay, he was since then been named the head coach of the Sacramento Kings in 2019. Luke was named after Walton's friend and former teammate Maurice Lucas. Okay. Maurice was so important in my life and in little Luke's life. Whenever there was a big moment for little Luke, Big Luke would show up unannounced to make sure it all turned out right. Okay. Chris Walton wound up playing basketball for San Diego State. Nate Walton would go on to play basketball for Princeton. Fuckers. He entered the corporate world and earned his MBA from Stanford University's Graduate School of Business. Walton attended Stanford Law School, starting in fall. Bill Walton attended Stanford Law School starting in the fall of 1981 while with the Clippers, but he did not graduate. Nate Walton, believe it or not, was on the ballot in the 2003 California recall, receiving just 1,697 votes. He has been highly successful in the oil business. Now, for those of you, okay, 2003. So, what was this recall election? Okay, so basically, Gray Davis, who was the governor of California at the time, he was recently reelected. California was in had become a shithole. Well, not as bad of a shithole as it is now, but to a point where you have rolling blackouts left and right, and he was basically he had voters that were not too happy with it, so they instituted a recall, which basically you go to the poll. Do you wish to recall Gray Davis? Yes or no. If you say no, you're done. If you say yes, then you move on to the next question, which is which of the following candidates would you like to replace Bill? Would you like to replace Gray Davis with? And of course, all you needed was like 65 signatures and a couple $100, and your name popped up on the ballot. Okay. You had other people like Gary Coleman was very popular, but the big one was Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think that's the reason why Gray Davis actually got recalled in that election, because they saw Arnold Schwarzenegger's name on the ballot and they said, we got to get the Terminator to run our state. Okay, but that was a very interesting fact. Bill had a son who actually ran for governor of California during the Gray Davis recall. Okay. In addition to the Grateful Dead, he was also a fan of the Allman Brothers Band, Neil Young, Fish, and Bob Dylan. Wow, he and I have kind of the same taste in music. Not exactly. He was particularly attached to the Grateful Dead, whose concerts he started attending in 1967 while he was in high school. He attended more than 850 Grateful Dead concerts, including traveling with the band to Egypt for its 1978 performance. What the hell? And quotes Grateful Dead lyrics in TV and radio interviews. To fellow Deadheads, Walton is finally known as Grateful Red and the Big Red Deadhead. Okay. He's had severe back problems, but he's also and for those, well, we're not going to go into his politics much, but he was so much more of a okay. With the kind of schooling that he and his kids have been involved in, we probably know in the picture that he was known to be a radical and attending. He was quite active in campus protests. Okay, famous not only for he was arrested during his undergrad years during an anti-Vietnam War protest during his junior year. He spoke at Yippie leader Abby Hoffman's memorial service and funeral in 1989, acknowledging spending time with Hoffman while he was a fugitive in the late 70s. He was also known as a vegetarian and a meditation practitioner. Okay, another thing to know: basketball was not and broadcasting were not his only things. He also made a very brief appearance in the 1984 film Ghostbusters. Who are you going to call? Ghostbusters! Okay. Those of you wondering what Bill Walton starred in that film, I don't know. Dogs and cats living together. Bill Walton's Ghostbusters. Okay. Don't. I don't know much about it, so don't get me into it. Okay. He's also made brief appearances in the films such as 88 and 1, Celtic Pride, Little Nicky, Forget Paris, and Semi-Pro. He appeared in the third season of the reality TV show Shark Tank, and he also appeared in the music video Swish Swish by Katy Perry, featuring Nicki Minaj. Okay, he played a color commentator alongside fellow broadcaster Rich Eisen. Rich Eisen, what the hell are you doing starring with Katy Perry in music videos? That's sick. Okay. He's got a huge he's got a huge award resume. His number 32 is officially retired by UCLA, just as USC's 32 on the football side retired by O.J. Simpson, who coincidentally passed away not long ago. Okay? There's another video paying tribute to him on my channel, so go look out for that if you like to. He was a two-time NBA champion, 77 and 86. Portland Trail Blazers beat the 76ers in the 77 NBA Finals. He was the NBA's most valuable player in 1977. NBA Finals MVP, that was. He was the NBA's most valuable player in 1978. A two-time NBA All-Star in 77 and 78. All-NBA first team in 78. All-NBA second team in 77. NBA Sixth Man of the Year in 1986. He's on the list of the 50 greatest players in NBA history and the NBA's 75th anniversary team. In terms of collegiate, two-time NCAA champion, 72 and 73. Two-time NCAA Final Four most outstanding player. Three-time Naismith College Player of the Year, 72, 73, and 74. Three-time USBWA Player of the Year, 72, 73, 74. Three-time Adolph Rupp Trophy, 72, 73, 74. Three-time Helms Foundation College Player of the Year. Three-time Sports News College Player of the Year. Two-time AP College Player of the Year, 72 and 73. Three-time Consensus First-Time All-American. And three-time First-Team All-Pac-8. Is back when he played for UCLA. It was known as the Pac-8. Okay, we already told you that his number 32 is retired by UCLA. It was retired in 1990. His 32 that he played for Portland has also been retired by the Portland Trail Blazers. Anything else? He was inducted into the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame in 2006. The California Sports Hall of Fame in 2010. The Boys and Girls Club of America Alumni Hall of Fame in 2017. I can tell you right now, if Bill Walton were to, if the Pac-12 were to have a Hall of Fame for, of greatest, a basketball player Hall of Fame, you bet your sweet bippy that Bill Walton would be on that list. What other players might be on that list? Well, a few of them include, but not limited to, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who also played for UCLA, followed by the LA Lakers. Steve Kerr of the Arizona Wildcats. Okay, just to name a couple. I don't know who else would be on there, but okay. It says here that Bill Walton made an uncredited cameo. We just don't know exactly what it was. Last year, he starred in a documentary for ESPN 30 for 30 called Luckiest Guy in the World. He's going to make me want to go do that. Okay. Television, he's made a couple of appearances. He appeared as a contestant on Wheel of Fortune 3 times. 1993, he won $63,924, including value of a Paris vacation and car for the Rex Foundation and ex-NBA Players Association. 2003, he won $6,000 with $10,000 donation to the NBA Retired Player Association. In 2005, he won a paired winning of $5,000 with $10,000 donation to the American Red Cross. Okay. He also starred in shows like the Jeff Foxworthy Show in 1997, Pacific Blue in 1997 as well, Inside Schwartz, the pilot episode in 2001. He also starred in an episode of American Dad in 2021, Shakedown Steve, the episode. Okay. He was also in 1979. He starred himself in The American Sportsman in the episode Bill Meets Vola, which was filmed in the Philippines. Okay, so let's see. Now, Bill Walton, he wound up passing away from colorectal cancer in San Diego, California on May 27th at the age of 71. Okay, so for those of you wondering what is colorectal cancer, it is basically it's a slang for bowel cancer, colon cancer, or rectal cancer. So like it's cancer of the colon, to say the very least. A lot of people have passed away from it, including like I know that Rod Roddy, an announcer of The Price is Right, he died 21 years ago from this. Charles Schultz, the creator of Peanuts, he died around the same time he was retiring the Peanuts comic strip in 2000. Just to name a couple people. I don't know who else might have died from it, but I'll have to do some further research for it. So these were some pretty fun facts about Bill Walton. Let's see if we can find anything else. Oh yeah. Oh, here's the most important thing I forgot to mention. Okay, Bill Walton was also selected to compete on the U.S. Olympic team for the 1972 Summer Olympics in Munich. Yeah, the same Olympics which the basketball team got itself into a massive controversy. So the controversy was basically in the gold medal game, again, when the United States versus the Soviet Union, the United States was leading 50, it was leading like 50 to 49. However, there was an error with the clock or something, and something happened where the clock didn't start until well after a play was under wraps, and by the time it was discovered, Soviet Union has scored a winning basket, 51-50, the final score. United States protested, saying that the game was played this game was played 3 seconds longer than it was supposed to have. And if it had been played under the normal rules, that final basket would not have counted. And after an appeal, which involved three communist which involved judges from 3 communist allied nations and 2 American allied nations, it was ruled that the Soviet Union had won the game and went home with the gold medals. Now, when it came to the silver medals, the United States refused those medals. Okay? Here's something you may not know. Bill Walton never played. Bill Walton refused his invitation to be on that basketball team. Okay? People were stating that, some people stated that his anti-Vietnam War protest views may have had something to do with it. But he publicly came out and said that it had more to do with his negative experience at the 1970 World Championships, which in 2004, he did an interview with ESPN stating, "For the first time in my life, I was exposed to negative coaching and the berating of players and the foul language and the threatening of people who didn't perform." As a result, he refused to compete in the 1972 Summer Olympics. And had Bill Walton actually competed in that, there would have been a very strong chance the United States would have blown out the USSR in that gold medal game. They would have taken home the gold, and there would have been no his fits about it. But as of right now, USSR took home the gold. The United States refused to this date, 52 years later, has still refused the silver medals that they were awarded or offered for their performance in the Olympics, saying that game was not fair, and we will not accept medals for a ruling that was unacceptable. Okay, and they considered that the appeal was more of a political stunt than an actual look into the count of exactly what happened. It wasn't going to change the judges' votes, because they went straight down the line on which of the two countries did they have more respect for. Okay. So that is Bill Walton in a nutshell. Okay. So it doesn't matter. Like, Bill Walton. Okay, here's my stance on Bill Walton. Okay. Some people liked him. Some people hated him, and some people thought, okay, they were into him because he was some kind of a little goof, and was more interested in what he was going to say next, more than what he was actually doing. Okay. Yes, he was all over the place, and yes, I had a hard time listening to Bill Walton during the games, but I managed to get through it. I don't have much of a stance on Bill Walton because I haven't really seen or heard him, but his presence, okay, and knowing that he had played for UCLA, and his anti-stance against it, and some negative comments made against the Arizona Wildcats, has made him a questionable character. Okay. Now, I'm not as big of a fan of Bill Walton himself. However, the one thing I do have to give him credit for, Bill Walton had a very huge passion and a huge heart for the Pac-12. He lived it day in, day out, especially over the last 12 years when he was broadcasting Pac-12 basketball for both Pac-12 networks and ESPN. You gotta love his passion for the Conference of Champions. All right? And with the Pac-12 literally falling apart in about a month, there's only about a month left in the conference before 10 out of the 12 schools move into their new homes. The conference is pretty much over as of now. Just the other day, on May 26th, the Arizona Wildcats wind up winning the last ever conference championship to be awarded for the Pac-12 in college baseball. Down 3-0 in the championship game in the ninth inning, came back, beat USC 4-3. Okay? And yet the following day, Bill Walton, okay, with the Pac-12 officially shattered, Bill Walton left us. Now, 2 years ago, when USC and UCLA both announced that they were going to depart for the Big Ten as of July 2024, one of the questions I had sparking in me is, where was Bill Walton going to go once his UCLA Bruins went to the Big Ten? Was he going to move forward into the Big Ten, follow his Bruins that way? Or was he going to stay with the Pac-12 and try to salvage whatever was left of the conference? Well, our question, unfortunately, got answered just the other day with his passing. And it seems like there's a few times like we've had some very weird coincidences of people passing. One thing that does come to mind was in 2000, Charles Schulz announced he was going to retire the Peanuts comic strip altogether because of his battle with cancer. And then just shortly after his, okay, on the night before, his final comic was to hit the Sunday papers for the last time, he passed away. Okay, so there have been coincidences, and I feel like this is one of those that go with it. Bill Walton lived the Pac-12 day in and day out over the last 50 something years. Even when he was during all those years that he had played for the NBA and commentating on the NBA, he still had respect for the Pac-12 or Pac-10 or Pac-8, whatever the hell you want to call it. Okay? You do have to give his remark for the impact he's left on the conference, regardless of what you really think of him. Okay? Bill Walton, you will be missed. Pac-12 will be missed as well. And the one thing we will miss the most from you is the way that you branded the Pac-12 as the Conference of Champions. And yes, the way the Pac-12 was, it was indeed the Conference of Champions. And in the following weeks to come, the Pac-12, just like Bill Walton, will be nothing but just a memory. Till next time we meet, Mr. Wildcat reminding each and every one of you to be good, be careful, and behave.